Greetings, every people. Zero Cult Personality here. ToonKritic's name. Toon's name of my game. Welcome back to the Sketchpad, a little show where I send out a bunch of emails and say, hey, do you want to be interviewed? And whoever comes back to me ends up on the show. So, man, we have been on a recent nostalgic roll as of late, haven't we? This has been a very fun few episodes for me to record, and this episode is going to certainly be no exception. So, it is my honor today to bring to all of you, if you're familiar with a little website called ScrewAttack, and also if you're a GameAttack fan, you probably know this dude. Allow me to introduce to all of you, Mr. Stuttering Greg.
I want to be absolutely clear and let you know that nobody knows who I am at any time, and but I greatly appreciate the introduction. That's very nice.
Hey, I think I do a pretty good job of introducing people. I think
That's great.
It's a good thing. So, for those that don't know who you are, sir, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I started this thing called ScrewAttack, which was all the rage of the internet for a while. And ScrewAttack is a place where you find where you found original videos every day. We were the kind of the first people online to do that, way back in the day, 2006, 2007, 2008. And that was our first hook was making fun video game videos, something original every freaking day. And that was kind of our hook initially. So we kind of changed and evolved over the years, and you know, I guess about a year ago, I left ScrewAttack to start GameAttack with the catchy name, and so ScrewAttack was my first baby. Now GameAttack is my new baby.
Yeah. I would just really like to share before we officially get this started. So back like in 2006, glory year for me in my teenage years. It's actually because of the videos that you and Handsome Tom did, all the countdowns and stuff, and a few other inspirations that inspired me to become a content creator myself. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun back then. I admired the sense of humor that you guys had, and I thought, you know what? If they can do it, I could try something like this. And I think this is really nice. Getting to talk to one of my idols. This is really cool.
I'll tell you what. If we can do it, anybody can do it. I
really?
promise you that.
Anybody? I don't know about that.
I'll tell you what. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much. That's very, very nice of you.
All right, let's actually get this started. So it is now 2017. Looking back on some of your old past projects, what was the moment in your, I guess, content making career where you knew, like, yes, I've made it, I know what I want to do?
I think we always wanted to know what we wanted to do, but I don't think we ever. I don't, even to this day. Even having sold a company and sold, ScrewAttack and everything, I don't think I've ever said, "Oh, we made it." Like we've never said we made it, and that's something that I think. When you're making stuff, especially online, the online video is just so finicky, and the audience is so fickle that it's like you can never feel safe, never feel content, and you always got to be evolving and changing, and that's really important to me. So I can't say I've ever really felt like I made it. I felt like we have been making waves and doing well, but I never been like, yeah, we made it, because like especially now with GameAttack, I mean we are totally funded by our community, and that's scary. It's scary every single day, but it's exciting as well. Very exciting. Yeah,
it's always interesting to see how the fans they keep coming back for more. They want to see more of you, and through that, like, it kind of, there's a little bit of pressure there, but I think it's a good kind of pressure that motivates you, I think, to push yourself and make better content for everyone.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's definitely, especially doing it for as long as I have. I mean, I've been online since 2006, right? So I'm ancient compared to a lot of your viewers and a lot of your listeners. So, for me, going from where we started talking about retro games, and retro games in 2006 was the Super Nintendo. Now retro games is the GameCube, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. So times change, eras change. But you just got to evolve with the times, and that's kind of what we're doing, which is exciting.
If I may ask, do you think it's been a good change, like since like we have like a different generation now, looking back at some of the older stuff, like you said, like the GameCube and like the PS2 and all that? There's a big generation gap. So do you think it's been a good change?
Are you from an audience standpoint or from a game standpoint?
I would say both.
So from a game standpoint, I feel like we're past the N64 is definitely considered retro now, right? You get your rumors of your N64 minis and stuff. And,
just wait. EA next year, there'll be like an N64 classic pre-orders going live. It'll be something like that.
Of course. And I feel like games have, the retro games when I started producing videos were very one-dimensional. It was get to the end and start the game, get to the end, right? And with a few exceptions of like your Final Fantasies and Secret of Manas and your RPGs and such that you'd see. But for the most part, now games, everything has some sort of big story attached to it, and I think that's great for the people creating the games. And for me personally, I find myself still playing games that I can sit down and have a session in 15 to 30 minutes, and kind of like I did growing up. Which is odd because I still play games for hours and hours on end. It's literally what I do for a living now. But I prefer the games that have ins and outs, that I can get in and out and get out without having to come back the next day and be on a cliffhanger for a storyline or something along those lines. From an audience standpoint, I'll tell you what, social media changed everything.
Oh yes.
Both in a positive and a negative way. I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners, a lot of your viewers grew up with social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, pick an outlet, but it's just one of those things where once everybody had a voice, it was both very positive and it sucked at the same time. You know what I mean? Because previously, I can remember a time before social media was a thing, and where we got our
news. We had like at best MySpace, Facebook, maybe. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have like Instagram. We didn't have all the new stuff today.
Message boards.
Yeah, message boards, definitely.
Remember those, right?
Yeah, all those old school forums and Newgrounds and whatnot.
Yeah, forums, message boards, exactly. And that's there was no real-time feedback, and for that I love the fact that I can send a tweet out and get a ton of reception from our audience that watches GameAttack, but it also opens up tons of opportunities for trolls, and people reaching out to you and telling you how horrible you are, and whatever, it is what it is. Like I said, I've so calloused over from the idea of people telling me how bad I am at my job, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I promise you, and I've said this before, there will be a time where I just don't really care to be around it anymore, and I just take my phone and I just throw it out in the water, and I go 1985 and worry and only have a landline for a phone, and
well, how many phones do you go through then? Like, you must go through a lot of them at that rate.
The lake is filling up, I'll tell you what.
All right. How has the transition been from doing like, the old scripted videos, all the top 10s, to now doing live streams like full time to like make a living? And has there ever been any challenges you faced in doing either?
Yeah, personally, I feel VOD content, video on demand, just traditional videos on YouTube they're going through a weird transition right now, where we saw a few months ago the adpocalypse came through, and oh my gosh,
yeah, so many of my friends were affected for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's why I think your platforms like your Patreon, your Indiegogo, they're going to become even more important moving ahead, because when you develop an audience, I'll use ScrewAttack as a great example, right? ScrewAttack is a channel that when we started had a very devoted audience, extremely devoted audience. And over the last 3-4 years, the audience shifted to focus more on a singular show like Death Battle. And the audience shifted away from being fanatics, which is what fans is short for, instead of being fanatics of ScrewAttack, to being viewers of Death Battle, right?
Yeah, because that seemed to like be the only thing that they cared about, as opposed to like, hey, we do other content too. Oh yeah, that's nice. We don't care about that. We want to see Death Battle. And
just tell us who's gonna win. Yeah, exactly. And it does, right? So it's one of those things where, you go where your audience will take you, but at the same time, from a VOD standpoint, just the money is going to be drying up pretty soon, from an advertiser standpoint, and especially with ad blocker and all these ways to essentially take money out of creators' pockets from blocking ads and whatever. The idea of the creator actually reaching out and saying, "Hey, we can only survive if we have support for you," just like GameAttack is.
Yeah.
That's going to be. I think it's going to become more and more prevalent moving ahead. But just from transitioning to traditional from video to live, I love live. I think this is where
Yes.
it's going. I love the interaction we have with our audience. I love the opportunity to, in about as real time as you can make it, interact with somebody and either make someone's day or joke around with your friends, and I love that. It's super personal, and that's exactly what I want GameAttack to be.
Yeah, I totally feel you. I do streams as well. I go to conventions, I do panels, and I absolutely adore the live atmosphere. You're absolutely right. There's nothing better, I think, than getting a live reaction, because as fun as YouTube comments are, those are one thing, but actually getting to hear like people and hearing like whether it's like you do something good and they're just like, yes, this is awesome, as opposed to just like a few words on the screen, not disregarding the words on the screen, but it's like the live atmosphere is something that you can't really describe. You have to feel it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's one of those things where when you have that interaction with an audience, I mean, like, we're at cons all the time. We had a con for a while. We made our own con, so.
Yes, SGC.
Yeah. So like and that's what it all was built around, the idea of having that interaction. So we get to have that interaction for 4 to 5 hours a day and hang out with our buddies. I mean, like, how awesome is that? And that's really fulfilling.
Yeah. By your personal preference, what are some qualities you think a content creator should have?
The number one, I get this question all the time, and I think there's a couple things. Number one is you have to be willing to work your butt off.
Yes.
You will work for hours and hours and days and months without seeing a cent. And if you're in it for the money, you need to get out.
This is not easy.
No, it's not an easy thing, and do not expect the YouTube monies to be rolling in anytime soon. It just comes down to, you got to be willing to work hard. You have to believe in what you're doing, and probably the most important thing is you have to be yourself. It's okay to play a character occasionally, but ultimately people are going to want to get to know you. You look at guys, on the internet that have had established characters initially, but ultimately people gravitated to them. You look at guys like the Angry Nintendo Nerd, Boogie, guys that their hook initially was this character, and people just wanted to know more about them, and that's who people gravitated to ultimately. It was the character that brought them in, but people wanted to know the person behind the character. So ultimately, you personally are the one that's going to be the hook for your channel and your success online and your work ethic, obviously.
Yeah. You mentioned characters. Can I ask about this? I know this is a while ago, but can I ask, where did the idea for Evil Craig come from? Because that's fun. As someone who has kind of developed sort of their own quote unquote alter ego character to like do different styles of videos, I would love to know where your idea came from.
Sure. Evil Craig very simply came from reading internet comments and reading how stupid they were. just how silly people were in their assumptions and in the various things that they would say, that they would do. And that's kind of where Evil Craig, the idea was like, man, these people are saying really stupid things. What are they thinking? So let's make a show out of it. And that's kind of where, like, Evil Craig, the first few episodes of Evil Craig were literally just I didn't write anything. I read comments off the internet.
Did you really? Wow.
Yes, that's all. And eventually it was, I mean, that's how stupid it was. And like, you're like, why? Like, Evil Craig would complain about the most minuscule things in games and the stupidest, most stupid things, and you find that a lot online. So that was kind of the idea, was just kind of take the ridiculous aspect of that and turn it into video. And Evil Craig was fun. I don't think Evil Craig is ever going to return, but Evil Craig was fun while he lasted.
Yeah, there's a certain thing with these types of characters that you really do not want to overdo them, but there's just something fun about them that you just want to keep doing over and over. But it does make sense, because you don't want to overstay your welcome with that type of character, because then people will expect it, it'll get stale, and then you'll end up not having fun with it.
No, you're right. And for me, Evil Craig was almost like a release for a while. When you're running your own business and you're doing your thing, Evil Craig was just allowing me to yell for a while. Was really nice. Yeah. Whether it was for 5 minutes or whatever it may be. I mean, it certainly wasn't the hardest show to make ever, but it was fun to make while we did it. And you're right. I think you don't want to overstay your welcome. And that was the thing with Evil Craig was, When Evil Craig left, he left the audience wanting more, which was good.
Yeah. I sort of had that with my character cartoons. I sort of had them as this edgy, sarcastic, dry 90s kid, Hot Topic wannabe character, and it's so much fun to do because it is a release too. It gives you a different way to make videos that's not your conventional means, and I think people want to see that. I think people want to see different styles of content, because anyone can make a basic top 10 video, or they can make a basic video, but if they have a character or persona attached to it, that's more likely going to get people interested.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're right. Like the idea, what's the hook?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the hook behind it? And that was probably the biggest and most important thing. So, Evil Craig. I mean, I get it all the time. Like, when's Evil Craig coming back? When's Evil Craig coming back? So I don't know. I don't know if Evil Craig will ever see the light of day again. But if and when he does, I'm sure he'll be angry about something.
Yeah. What has been the most fun project for you to work on? And it doesn't have to be just one. If you can't think of just one, just rattle off some ones off the top of your head.
Yeah, we mentioned SGC earlier. SGC was awesome. SGC was this convention we did down here in Dallas, and being able to hang out with people for 3 days straight for multiple years. We had 5 SGCs. Just conceptualizing that, actually having people show up to it, which was scary. The idea of starting something and being like, I sure hope people show up.
Boy, we're starting a convention. Let's see. Let's crank up the money. Let's get a few accountants in here. Oh, that's going to cost a lot. We're not going to show them that. We're just gonna have a fun time and pray that we don't end up bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, events are not. Events are very stressful. Very stressful. So but I think for me it was the idea of producing SGC, making it happen. And always having a surprise. Like I specifically, SGC took a 2-year hiatus, and we brought it back in 2013. And when we brought it back, I remember finishing up on stage, and kind of like Evil Craig, I always wanted to end SGC on a really big high note, to where when it finished, it was like, that's it, it's over now, and I wanted people to want more. So I remember finishing SGC, we finished our final thing on stage, and people just kind of lingering and just kind of hanging out for probably about an hour or two after we were done. And there was kind of this weird, I can't believe it's over feel.
Yeah.
People feel like that like their lives had changed a little bit, not to kind of be over dramatic and stuff, but we went in and it was such a magical experience. We went out and I remember seeing several community members that I had known from online, and we ended up, a couple of them in particular came up and gave me a hug, and they just started crying. And they started crying, just saying just thank you for making this happen. And this is the best weekend of my life. And that to me was the most fulfilling thing ever. Just being there, and we all shared a cry. It was awesome. And how emotional is that, to where you're creating things online, and then you get to have this intimate experience with your audience that's been watching you, and you've been interacting with them, and it was so awesome. And that to me, I think, is definitely all the SGCs were very special to me.
Yeah, I was about to say what has been the most fun convention experience, but I think you just answered that with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I don't
for sure.
I don't think anything can top that. There's something kind of special, I think, with cons, especially when it's that, once you get down from the high of performing, and then you kind of just let reality sit in, especially when cons ending. PCD is a hell of a thing to deal with. So
Yeah, especially when you run one, man. That was the thing, is we got done and we were like, so now what? I guess we start planning for next year. And that's how it goes. Okay, well, what's next? Let's get going,
Yeah. So I want to take you back. I want to take you back to the beginning of ScrewAttack. What
Sure.
motivated you to create it? And do you have any fun stories from its early years?
Yeah. So ScrewAttack started pretty much because I didn't want to work for anybody else. I got out of college. I had a degree in journalism, and I had two real passions. I like sports, and I like video games. And I started I started this thing with my buddy Tom, and I was like, nobody's doing radio shows online about video games. Who's doing a radio show about video games? Blah blah blah. And we're so naive to the fact that we launched this podcast based solely off the idea that nobody's doing it, and then we went online and found out that everybody's doing it, and they're called podcast.
Which is what you're on right now.
exactly. So we started it, and it just started because we wanted to start a business. We wanted to do it. We wanted the opportunity. We were young, ready to go, excited for to figure out. We just wanted to be in the video game industry. And honestly, we wanted to go to E3. we wanted to go to E3, and that was our ticket in. Was having a legitimate outlet. So we
having some credibility, having a little bit of a resume with your stuff.
Yeah. So we launched in February of 2006, and we got to go to E3 that year, which was awesome. So it was pretty awesome, really, really neat.
Yeah, I can tell, because as the years went by, your content got stronger. You started adding more people. You started making things very interesting, I think, when it came out in the early years, in a good way. So
yeah. I mean, we always try to have a unique twist to what we were doing, flair, and be a little different, right? And ScrewAttack saw a lot of changes over the years, and the audience evolved, the audience adapted, and some people have been with us for 10 years, some people have been with us for 10 minutes, and it was always about trying to do something different, and ScrewAttack saw a lot of really cool success for that. I think ScrewAttack's golden years were when we really focused on the community between 2008, 2012, 2013, and there was a 5-year stretch in there where, man, it was awesome. And I think that's the thing that we're really proud of with GameAttack now, is we get to have that intimate relationship with our audience again, and that to me is really exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine, because when I look at like some of the GameAttack streams, like it's just you guys just sitting there on a couch with like the laptop and the games and like 2 microphones. So you go for like hours on end. So I wanna ask, as someone who also kind of does that, what are your kind of tips or tricks, I guess, to keep the audience engaged and to keep yourselves like from not being bored to death?
Well, having a buddy there really helps.
That's what I've always thought too.
Yeah, having a buddy to play a game with for sure is like the guys who stream solo for 5 hours. I mean, those guys are beasts. We look at like a Stat who plays a lot of on YouTube Gaming, a guy who plays a lot of pub battlegrounds for a couple hours, then he'll switch to another game, and I think that's amazing. But for us, yeah, just the idea of I'm there with Bolin, and then I'm also there with another 1,000 people in our chat room, that are there to interact with, and that makes the time go by. And it's not so much, there are days where it feels like we just started and we've gone an hour and 45 minutes. Because it's just a fast-paced show. Things are happening in the game. We're talking about what's going on in the community. We're talking about what's going on in our life, and we're just having a good time. And I would say, more than anything, the game is just the game isn't really important. I mean, the game is it's
a backdrop. It's a theme.
Yeah, exactly. It's ultimately people we're there to interact with our audience, and the game is just something that happens to be there while we get to hang out with our audience, and that's really, really neat.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun to actually get to interact with the audience, because then they sort of feel like they're a part of the experience as opposed to just watching the experience. That I think is very important with streams.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, so we're going to Disney World here next week, and
oh wow,
yeah, it's pretty awesome. And we're going to be for the first time, we're going to be live streaming something that's not video games. We're going to be live streaming Disney World, and that's the thing we've been saying. It's like, we're going to Disney World, but you're coming with us, and we have several community members who are literally flying down to go to Disney World when we're going to Disney World. So we're going to be live streaming Disney. So those who have never been to Disney can come to Disney with us, and we'll put the stream down whenever we're not, or whenever we're on a ride or whatever.
Well, I would hope so.
but still, it's one of those things where that's what we want. We want that experience to where, whether it's Battlegrounds, whether it's Demon Souls, whether it's Disney World,
there's
so
much variety.
Yeah, it's there, and it's not so much about the game. It's about the experience and the intimacy of you and your audience. So
yeah, it's something I really enjoy too. I go to conventions, I meet so many different fans who like not just watch my content but watch those streams as well. So it's very fulfilling, I think.
Yeah.
So sure. I want to jump back, I guess, to the top 10s. I was kind of waiting to talk about these because I wanted to get like the good flow going for this. So when it came to the making of all those top 10s, you know, back in the day, what helped you make each one different? And did you face any challenges when coming up with them, like writer's block or creativity block, or you're just like, I don't know what to do here?
Yeah, you know, top 10s were fun because that was actually the first thing that ScrewAttack really got known for initially. That was literally the first piece of content we produced for somebody that wasn't us. We got paid to make one for GameVideos.com, which is no longer in existence. And I remember they knew they wanted to work with us. We knew we wanted to work with them. We didn't know what we were going to make, and we had all these ideas of things we wanted to do. And I said, well, how about we just do a top 10? And I was talking to my buddy, and he's like, but everybody does top 10s. And my response was, yeah, but not everybody does a ScrewAttack top 10, right?
Yeah.
And
ours are different, you see.
Yeah. Ours are, yeah, absolutely. And what's going to make it different, right? This is not an IGN, you know, editorial thing. This is like our first top 10 was, you know, top 10 worst ways to die in a video game, right? You think someone would start with like, oh, top 10 Nintendo games, top 10 Xbox games, whatever.
Nah, you got to get creative.
Yeah, so we went out of the box and did something that nobody had really thought of at the time, and then we did, you know, top 10 douchebags in video games, and you know, we did all these. So we did all these lists that like, you know, that was just if we thought it was funny, then we figured other people would think it was funny, right? Yeah. I remember we did a top 10 Wii game list. And I think like number 8 on the list was Netflix, right?
Because it was just starting out, you know, you had to really get creative there.
Yeah, it was like it came on a disc, you know, and you could play it, and technically, I mean, you move around, so and you could have access to whatever you wanted to watch. So, it was, you know, it's one of those things where people saw that and they're like, "Screw you, putting Netflix on the list," blah 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 blah. But it was funny. It made us laugh. It made us giggle, so we did it, you know. But no, I don't think we ever really saw much writer's block. It was more, you know, picking a topic that you thought could be funny or you thought could, you know, you were passionate about and kind of going on that way. I think our most viewed top 10 ever was, I think, the top 10 video game themes. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing that made that one so special was that we didn't actually write the top 10. Our community did. And we essentially did a giant poll in our forums at the time, and I think we had like 20-something thousand responses in our forum, and it was crazy how passionate people were. So we knew that we had to do that one right, and it's a list that like you couldn't do on YouTube now because the music would get flagged so fast for, you know, copyright from Nintendo or whatever.
Well, and
yeah, it was you know, it's one of those things where it was definitely a product of its time.
Things have definitely changed now. Well, no, not necessarily. Nintendo still kind of looks over if you do anything Nintendo related like a hawk. Just say, gonna have to not monetize that for you. We're just gonna take that money instead. That's our stuff. You can't do that, and that's really not fun. I've had quite a few people who have like had struggles trying to get around those copyright strikes. It's a very limiting thing for your content, but there are ways.
Yep.
I wanted to actually ask, and I was a little hesitant to ask this because I didn't put this question down, but I felt like I wanted to ask anyway. Are you and Handsome Tom still close? Because I know you two had an amazing chemistry when it came to the top 10s. You worked so well together, and I was a little sad to see him leave. And I'm not going to ask if there was any personal drama or anything aside, but it's just like, are you two still close?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really talked to Tom in a couple of years. We had lunch a few years ago, and you know, we've I'd say we kept things cordial. It was one of those things where, you know, he's kind of gone on, done his own thing. I've gone on and done my own thing, and our lives haven't really crossed since. You know, so I wouldn't say, you know, I wouldn't say we're friends. I wouldn't say we're not friends. I would just say, you know, we're more acquaintances now, I guess. If we saw each other, it'd be a cordial thing. Shake his hand. I'm sure he'd shake mine, and kind of go that way. You know, that was just one of those things where it was a it was just one of those things that happened. There was reasons for him leaving that made sense for everybody attached to it. You know what I mean? And that was my first taste of internet drama, and it was one of those things where had we to do it again, like ScrewAttack would not have survived another 6 months had things continued. So had I do it again, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation had it not happened. So that's probably the most important thing out of everything is we've been able to continue something that's affected a lot of people's lives in a positive way. So
yeah, because you can look back on all the old stuff that you did, and you can know, yeah, we did something good. It was entertaining for everyone. It's nostalgic for some people, so it's like you can look back on it in a good light, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom played a really big role in shaping the persona of ScrewAttack in the early days, for sure.
Okay, well, that was good. I was worried that I was worried I was about to unearth something that I probably shouldn't have.
Nah. Like I said, I'm open to talking about everything.
Okay. Do you have any ways to deal with stress while on the job?
Man, if I had an answer for that, I would certainly tell you. Running your own business is extremely stressful. Every day is you learn something new, and I think for me, every once in a while I get out and play a little basketball, get involved with sports and such. Really just being able to unwind, whether that's through physical activity or just watching some TV. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing, especially now. Like I was just talking to Bolin. So Bolin and I are co-founders of of GameAttack. So
you two have a great chemistry also, by the way. I wanted to quickly say, like, he's great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. I love that guy. So Bolin, this is his first time owning a business, and he's kind of going through the same thing where he's like, how do I separate? It's always on my mind. Like GameAttack is always on my mind. And it's like, I know, you just gotta find a way, especially when, at the end of the day, if there's an issue, you need to figure it out, So, yeah, it's certainly stressful. I would just say do your best to separate as best as you possibly can, whether that's putting down your phone, watching some TV, and especially online, just getting away from technology. Go for a walk. Leave your phone behind. You'd be surprised how refreshing it is.
Yeah, considering if you're like either a workaholic or your job requires you to be like online like maybe 90% of the day, that doesn't really give you any time to relax or recharge if you're constantly in work mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess to wrap this all up quite nicely, what pieces of advice do you like to pass on? Like when anybody ever asks you the age-old question, like, do you have any advice for me? Whether they're a content creator, someone who like does live streaming or let's playing, just like what pieces of advice do you hold close to you that you always give out to people?
Be you. That's by far the most important thing. Be you, and don't be afraid to be yourself. Because if you're not you and you're trying to pretend to be someone else, people will see right through it. The audience is too smart. They will see right through your facade. So be as authentic as you possibly can. Never take advantage of your audience, and cherish what your audience does. What your audience does for you. Never take it for granted.
All right. I think that works quite nicely. It's kind of something that in a way, I guess, yeah, that's kind of similar to what I pass on too. I think I always pass on that charisma is very important. You have to have energy because energy is infectious. It goes to people and it draws them in, and it sort of works both ways. It's a very nice, rewarding experience because if you give them energy, they will give energy back, and it just works in a nice little circle to help everything going.
Yeah, there's truth to that. There's absolutely truth to that. I mean, energy is a very big part of it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You got it all figured out.
I just remembered also. Yeah, thank you, actually. Yeah, I've been doing this. I've been doing video making since since 2007. So I guess I have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to this, and it's fun because some people, I may not seem like a super big celebrity or anything, but like I have a small following, and I like when people come up to me and ask me for advice and whatnot. It's very flattering, Congrats,
dude. That's the best. That's awesome.
I actually just remembered I completely skipped on one question. I cannot believe I have not asked this because Lord knows we'll get into a whole other hour talking about this. I know you're a big WWE fan. And I know you love like the old like WWF No Mercy, all the great wrestling games and whatnot. Can I just ask where your love of wrestling came from just to end this off?
Yeah, it came from the WCW NWO angle. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's kind of where it came from for sure. Just having really good bad guys is where it came from. I've always gravitated to the bad guys more than the good guys. I think the bad guys are way more fun, which
Yeah.
is funny because right now we're doing this show with Rooster Teeth called Tuesday Night Game Fight, and we are the bad guys. It's awesome.
It's so much fun
the
to
best.
play. It's so much fun to play like an ass to people. It's so much fun to play like the heel. I totally respect that. There's just something exhilarating about playing playing the asshole to other people. It's so great.
Oh yeah, with no, I mean, you can say whatever you want, do whatever you, I mean, the heel has no rules. You can do whatever you want. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Love it. It's so much fun. Actually, the episode that we were on, the third episode of Tuesday Night Game Fights just went up on YouTube, and we're playing the heel role awesome. Like we just put in the comments, "You're welcome. See you in 2 weeks, morons." It's like one of those things where you just insult the audience, and it's like, oh, okay, they're the bad guys. It's okay.
Yeah. Who are your favorite wrestlers? I'm assuming like you got some of the old school wrestlers as your favorites.
Yeah, I'm obviously a big fan of The Rock. I think when you talk charisma, he's amazing. And I more than anything, I don't like The Rock Bottom was a cool move, but for me, it was all about how people got on the mic and talked and spoke and just was able to bury their opponents. I'm not a huge Triple H guy. I know I appreciate what he did and stuff, but when I speak of when you talk about people on a mic, he never really did a whole lot of that for me. I wasn't really a huge fan of his. I love Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho is amazing to this day.
Yeah. I draw a lot of inspiration for my cartoons character from Chris Jericho and Edge. It's so much fun because there's so many heels to work with.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right, and he's great. And I love Kevin Owens also as an exceptional bad guy. Love it.
Okay, I don't want to go into like a wrestling tangent. I think I'm gonna end the interview here. I think that's probably the best way because, like I said, Lord knows we'll get into a whole other discussion. Not that I wouldn't love talking to wrestling about you. Big wrestling fan here too. But that's actually kind of where I got my God, why am I sharing this? Okay, you know what? Whatever.
Please, by all means.
My nickname that I go by is the Cult of Personality. Now, okay, no, going back here, whatever. I'm a part of the Brony fandom, and I've been nicknamed the Cult of Personality, because it's a pun on words, and it's kind of my thing. I exude energy. I go with like a great personality when it comes to the cons and whatnot. So wrestling has given me a persona and moniker to work with. I adapt to like some of the wrestling personas, and I stuck with that nickname. I know the Brony fandom is like that's a whole other side, but like, why did I bring this up during the interview? I was not going to. Whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. Wrestling is very important to me. It helps me with. It's kind of how I learned to do public speaking and all this other cool stuff. So I can imagine it kind of did the same way for you because there's the art of the promo. So.
Yep, for sure. Love me some promos. So it's great, man.
All right, now we're actually going to end it here. So is there anything you'd like to quickly plug before we head off? Anything you would like my viewers to know about?
Yeah, if you want to come watch us play some video games every day, we have the best community on the internet, bar none. The GameAttack is tight-knit. We love our community. Our community loves us, and we hope you come check us out and come join us. We stream every day.
Yep, and I'm assuming you guys have Twitter as well?
Yes, at GameAttack Team. You can also follow me at Craig Skitz, CraigSkitz.
All right. I think that nicely takes care of everything. Once again, Craig, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule for this. This means the world to me. You were a huge inspiration to me, and I'm very glad that we had this very nice, lovely conversation.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you, and thank your audience for putting up with me for a little bit.
Nah, you're all good. So that being said, I am the Toon Critic, keeping you totally tuned for your entertainment. Thank you for watching, and stay awesome.